In this video, we will present the Satin Fill stitch type. Whenever we create a design part, the software automatically chooses the most suitable fill and outline type. This ellipse is filled with step. Step is mainly used for filling large areas. Satin, on the other hand, is used to fill mostly narrow areas. So if I create an ellipse like this, it is filled with satin. In general, satin stitch type has needle penetration points on the edges and no stitch points in the middle. Lettering parts are a representative example of satin fill, at least in most cases. Using the available options of object properties, you can customize the satin stitches. You may opt to select a style of stitches, but in general, satin stitch is not meant to have styles. You may certainly choose to apply them, but then it doesn't look that much like satin. Still, if you add a style, you can create original fill effects. If you apply a pattern, you may wish to create wider satin bars. Those look like a satin bar, but they have needle penetration points inside the shape as well. When a pattern is applied, there is an additional option, length. By typing a value, you set the length of the pattern. Additionally, there are some advanced parameters that you can use to adjust satin stitch. First of all, you can change the density. In this way, you can make the satin lighter or thicker. When the option is unchecked, it is reversed to the default value. The default value may vary according to the selected fabric. Compensation has to do with the fact that embroidering may cause a fabric to pull, as we say, to shrink. Shrinking depends on the fabric, on the tension of the thread, and the speed of the machine. So you can change the compensation value when you think that the result will pull. Notice that the applied compensation is not visible unless you switch to manual mode. The underlay is a very important factor that affects the embroidery quality. The stitches that go first are called underlay, and they support the stitches on top. You can only preview the underlay using slow redraw. For this satin bar, the auto-selected underlay was a double line. If you wish to have a lighter underlay, you may add as a single line, for example. And if you want a heavier underlay, you may even select netting. This one adds a double line and then a net before the satin stitches. There are also some underlays to help you build up a plump satin and create a 3D effect. Such underlays add multiple layers of narrow satin lines in order to produce that plump satin bar. The short-long parameter is a kind of filter, which helps avoid too many threads, one on top of the other. In shapes like these lettering parts, you can see that on the turns of the satin bar, multiple stitches fall on the same point. When you check short-long, they are actually reduced. Using sequence option, you can manually change the position of the part in the design order. And using remove overlaps, you can enable or disable the automatic filter, which removes overlaps between objects for vector designs. These options are presented into separate videos. Last but not least, Remember that in satin you can add multiple direction lines or divides. Directions and divides are described in detail in a separate video.